I went to see Markiplier's debut film, Iron Lung, based on the indie video game of the same name. Um, I'll read the uh, I'll read the little a little bit of the blurb from Letterboxd. The stars are gone, the planets have disappeared. Only individuals aboard space stations or starships were left to give the end a name, the Quiet Rapture. After decades of decay and crumbling infrastructure, the consolidation of iron has made a discovery of a barren moon designated AT5, an ocean of blood hoping to discover desperately needed resources, they immediately launch an expedition. Basically, Mark Fischbach or Fishback, I can't remember how you say it, but I just always know him as Markiplier, YouTuber Markiplier, who streams games, doing lots of games. He's exactly 2 weeks younger than I am. We were both born the exact same month and year. Um, he is sole writer, producer, director, and lead actor in this film. He is in one setting the entire time. He's in this iron submarine, and it goes into a pool of blood. Um, you only see three other people on screen at one time. The rest of the film is him in this box, taking photographs, in a pool in a massive sea of blood, which I didn't even know it was a sea of blood until a wee bit into it. Like a lot of this film is very mysterious. Um, I obviously had never played the game. I just like Mark. I watched him play Five Nights at Freddy's a long, long time ago now, and I just enjoyed him. I thought he was hilarious. He's one of the very few streamers that are out there that are sort of YouTubers that are actually quite genuine. He's very on Front Street with a lot of the money and stuff that he makes and how he does stuff, and he's put a lot of like what happens behind the scenes out there so that he's sort of always kept everybody in the loop and says like, this is how much I pay, taxes and all that kind of stuff. And he's always let people see like he's home and all this kind of stuff. So I very much liked him. I went to see it for him. I think a lot of people did go and see it for him, but it's ended up being a kind of sleeper hit because it ended up being like number two in the US or something like that. And I think it was like maybe like number four or something here or number five or something. It did really, really well. Unfortunately for me, it was a borrow it. I was just about lost. It left me rather cold. There was interesting factors to it. A lot of blood in it, obviously, if you're in a sea of blood, but he's in a submarine in it. But I just didn't really know what was going on. I had this whole thing of just being a bit lost and a bit kind of like, right, I'm going to try and piece this together, but I just didn't have a clue. And reading that description there, I'm like, I maybe should have read that before going in because I never pieced that together in the movie. And it's not, I don't even think it's a case of bad writing or bad direction or anything like that because I actually think it was directed beautifully. There's some incredible cinematography in this. It's just a kind of a well done piece. Mark himself actually gives an incredible performance as the main character. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you his name because for most of the film he's just called Convict. I think they send people who they deem convicts down to find these things that they're trying to search for. Sorry, I've got a bit of a tickle in my throat. But it's just it sounds dead convoluted as I'm explaining it, and I kind of felt like that. I came away from it not really knowing what was happening, and then it just kind of ended, and I felt a bit discombobulated. I came out at the end of the film, and it'd been so dark on screen for so long that the lights of the cinema hallway, the foyer, genuinely blinded me. I came out and was like, whoa. And I felt out of sorts. I really genuinely felt out of sorts. And I thought, well, that's a good feat of filmmaking to make you physically feel discombobulated after being stuck in this kind of box for almost 2 hours. Now, obviously, the character's in it for a lot longer. But I felt like, it really put you in his shoes in that sense. And I felt disorientated and just a bit lost. And it wasn't until I was about halfway down the road in the car to go pick up my other half, that I started to get it back again, and I thought, well, that's a good part of it. That's personally, I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd, but I ultimately say it's a borrow because there is a good feeling of a genuine sort of immersion in the movie. It's just that the story just didn't seem to do anything, and it didn't seem to have any sort of real conclusion or really any kind of explanation. It was all kind of told through little vignettes and little bits that appeared through, like, I don't know if it was like vision or dream or what. Um, say Mark's character, the convict, had a crash in the submarine at some point, and he went flying back. He'd get knocked out, and you'd see a little bit of that. But it was sort of interspersed with all these like pictures of like shapes and stuff that I don't know, nothing really kind of glued together at any point, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And even the photographs that he was taking in the submarine to see what was down there, the photographs looked weird. They were just, it was like a real X-ray machine almost, and you were just kind of looking at it, going like, what is that? Like, I can't make it out. And he was saying like, oh, it's a mountain or whatever, and I'm like, was it? Like, I couldn't tell, and I think it was intentionally done that way, but it unfortunately just fell flat in that sense. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm hesitant. I'm not saying bin it, even though I only gave it a 2 stars. I'm not saying bin it because I do feel like it was a feat of filmmaking. I think it's incredible that something that managed to get to number two in the US box office is done by one guy. And he solely financed the thing as well. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. Shows you how much money he's making off of YouTube. You know what I mean? But incredible costume design, great set design for it being only one kind of thing. It was like a bottle episode of a show for 2 hours. You know what I mean? It was just stuck in this submarine. Even when you see three other characters on screen, there is other people that speak in it. It's kind of like that Tom Hardy film Lock, in the sense that you hear other voices, but they're all coming through the phone. You do hear other voices in this, but they're all coming through an intercom. And at one point, when he does get sort of risen to the surface at some point, you do see three other people, but it's through a little porthole, so you don't even really fully see them either. And then they're gone. You never see them again. It's just they're there for 5 minutes, if that, and then it's just you're stuck again with just him and the box and you. So there is a real immersion level to it, but I don't know. It's very dark. Just very, like I say, very disorientating and just a bit lost overall. But I definitely would say borrow it. I definitely would say like give it a go. And if for anything else, um, give it a go and watch it just to get Mark's numbers up a bit more because I would be really interested to see what else he's got to make. I mean, if this is what he was able to do for his first film, by the time he gets to like his fifth or sixth, it's going to be unbelievable. The stuff he must have learned on this, like unreal, and he's working with like proper sort of bit actors and voice actors. He's even got Troy Baker who did voices for like Batman and Joker and stuff like that as well. But he did things in The Last of Us and Uncharted and all these sort of things. He's done all these. Troy Baker's a massive voice actor for games and animation and stuff, but he's one of the voices in it. And there's I can't remember. I've completely forgot her name, but there's a main sort of woman that he speaks to, and she's done loads of voices for animation and stuff as well. So he picked his cast and stuff really well. I thought a lot of them were great, the voices coming through and stuff. But yeah, it was just a very disorientating experience that unfortunately had an effect on my sort of overall viewing experience and outcome for rating it.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I wasn't even aware it was coming until I started seeing the poster everywhere,
Yeah.
like online. And then obviously you put that you were going to see it, and I read about it, and I didn't even realize it was a game. I was like, that sounds like a really interesting idea for a movie. I
Mm.
like those, like Moon and, like you say, Lock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
guy on his own, or person on their own,
Hmm.
dealing with some freaky shit, whatever. Um, and yeah, so it sounded quite interesting. Again, I'll probably wait till it hits Sky.
I,
I think.
I think it's one of them, like you've heard some stuff about it now, so you might enjoy it a lot more than I did. I went in totally cold. Like I was just going in because I liked Markiplier. You know what I mean? I was going, I'll go see it because I like him. Um, and not knowing anything about it. Not even really, it wasn't until the day that I was going to go see it that I found out that it was a game originally. My friend had sort of messaged and said, "It's a game, innit?" I went, "Is it?" um, and yeah, turned out it was, which gets me intrigued to play the game. But if it's anything like if the game's anything like the film, then I would just be completely lost, and I'd get to the end and be like, "What?" You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
so funny. I think I put it in my review, but I had a couple behind me that was like, "Oh, it's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back," and they walked out. But then there was just a litany of like gamer guys and girls behind me that just started kicking off and like, "Oh, I loved it. It was amazing." You know what I mean? And I was positioned in the cinema perfectly between the two of them. And I was thinking, wow, I think I'm positioned well in this cinema because this is how my opinion has been of it as
yeah.
well. I'm not I'm not quite the couple that left behind me, but I'm also not quite on the side of all of them that are going mad about it. And I also felt like some of them were very much just saying that they liked it because their friends said they liked it. You could hear it, you could
Yeah.
hear somebody saying like, "Oh, it was amazing," and then sort of coming back being like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," they're trying to get in there, engage what their friend was saying about it.
Well,
Um,
yeah, that's a bit like what I said about in my review for One Battle After Another.
yes,
It's like, are we
yeah.
just liking this film because it's PTA and we feel like we have to?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
And
It's
yeah, there is an element of that amongst friends as well. That's what I
I
quite like about. It's what I always liked about Barry Norman and Roger Ebert to a degree as well, is because they saw films separately from everybody else. They didn't get
yes.
that collective. Because he said that, like, when he wrote it for the paper, they'd all then go to the pub and they talk about it. And one person would be like, "I really like that," and another person would be like, "That was a bag of shit, wasn't it?" And then they sort of form a consensus in the middle, and all their reviews would be pretty similar,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah.
with their own spins on it. And it's just that's why I didn't want to read your review of the next film that we're going to talk about until
Yes.
I'd seen it.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, that's one thing about going to the cinema on my own to see these films. It's I've been able to base my own sort of opinion on it coming out of the movie without having, looked at a review or something. I'll go and watch something and then I've built my opinion on it right there and then, and I will try to write it on Letterboxd, having then not looked at anything. I'll do that, I'll save that, and then I'll go and read a review or something. I think you're very much the same, aren't you?
The only time I'll read a review first is when I've watched a film and I'm like, I genuinely don't know what the fuck how to process this film.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah. I
like
get
then
that.
I will look for a couple of reviews, generally one good one, one bad one, and sort of see where I fall in the middle and see whether I can make sense of the film. And then there are some
Yeah,
reviews I've done where I'm like, I don't know whether I like this film or didn't like it. It happened in front of me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
And, one day it might click, but at the moment I've not got a clue.
It is interesting. That's the
And
that's
the fact it's not a big studio movie sort of gives it that little bit of extra. Yeah, I'll give this a go.
Yeah. And I was the whole way through it. I kept expecting at some point for the seams to burst somewhere and for it to suddenly show its like indie made hand, but it didn't. It stayed in like proper Hollywood style, like big budget film, and I was sitting looking like this is incredible. I can't believe that this guy did it himself. You know what I mean? Like it's unreal, and I think it's more of a test to, it was just an added thing to be like, "Ah, God, I love this guy. Like I think he's great. Um, just very very self made, but not in a broy way.
Yeah,
Nothing about him screams like, "Oh, I'm self made, Jews paid" kind of stuff. He just very much is like, I've got a boatload of money and man, I've always wanted to make a movie. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like, yeah,
I'm
go
fair
for it.
play
You know what
to
I mean?
him.
Yeah.
Um,
And being a guy that comes from like gaming as well, I think it's, they have that creative mindset to them and they've, they've done the whole like trying to get camera angles and stuff themselves, first person playing games. So to then translate that into a film, I think it kind of works perfectly. It's a,
yeah,
it's a, it's a good translation. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
so that's a borrow it for that one.